Good morning and welcome to Breakfast News on Rajya Sabha Television. I'm Aishwarya Kapoor. Let us begin with the headlines. Prime Minister to launch Skill India campaign. The target is to support 24 lakh youth by the next year. AAP's tacit support to JDU ahead of Bihar polls. Party decides not to field candidates for elections. Chennai Super Kings plans to move Supreme Court against order to suspend it for 2 years. Lodha panel had also banned Guruappan Mayappan and Rajkundra for life. Parliament in Greece to vote today on bailout deal reached between EU leaders and Prime Minister Tsipras. And Saudi-backed Yemeni forces recapture Aden International Airport from Houthi militia as humanitarian truce collapses under heavy combat. Well, the day's biggest story, Prime Minister Narendra Modi will launch Pradhanmantri Vikas Yojna today to create skilled manpower at grassroots level by providing them vocational, technical and skill development education. Pilot phase of the campaign has already begun, which seeks to incentivize skill training by providing financial rewards to successful candidates. Now, the campaign has a target of supporting 24 lakh youth across the country by next year. A skill loan initiative will also be launched to loan out rupees 5,000 to 1.5 lakh rupees to more than 34 lakh youth who seek to attend skill development programs over the next 5 years. The National Skill Development Mission will converge, coordinate and implement and monitor skilling activities across the country. And Prime Minister Narendra Modi has called a meeting of Governing Council of Niti Ayog at his 7 RCR residence today and is expected to discuss the contentious land acquisition bill. The government has come under fire from the opposition over the changes, terming them as anti-farmer. Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar is to participate in the meet to put across his party's opposition to the bill. BJP allies like the Shiv Sena and Shiromani Akali Dal also are in favour of reintroduction of the consent clause to the bill. Other issues like the goods and services tax and devolution of taxes between the centre and states as per the recommendations of the 14th Finance Commission is also likely to be discussed. Meanwhile, most Congress chief ministers are expected to boycott this meet. West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has already written to Prime Minister Narendra Modi opposing the bill and expressing her inability to attend the Niti Ayog meeting today. And a look at what else is expected to make news in the day ahead. A special court in Delhi will hear a coal block allocation scam case involving former Prime Minister Manmohan Singh, industrialist Kumar Birla in the allocation of a coal block in Odisha in 2005. The court had refused to accept the CBI's closure report filing the case and had directed to further investigate the matter and examine Manmohan Singh and other peer officials of the case. The Supreme Court had on 1st of April stayed the summons issued against Manmohan Singh, Kumar Birla and others. The government is likely to revise the petrol and fuel prices today. The fuel is likely to get cheaper with Iran and world nuclear powers reaching a landmark deal on Tuesday. The global oil prices fell immediately after the announcement of the deal. Petrol and diesel prices were last reduced on 1st of July by 31 paise a litre and 71 paise a litre earlier, respectively. The Manipur Cabinet will convene an emergency one-day session of the Assembly to discuss the withdrawal of Manipur Regulation of Visitors and Migrant Working Bill 2015. The controversial bill was withdrawn by the government on 12th of July after growing public demand and protests across the state for the introduction of inner line permit system in the state. A student was killed in confrontation between the protesters and the police on 8th of July, which led to the imposition of the indefinite curfew in Greater Imphal area. Delhi High Court will hear a plea of AAP MLA Surendra Singh challenging the centre's decision to appoint BJP leader Karan Singh Tanwar as Vice Chairman of the New Delhi Municipal Council. The AAP MLA from Delhi Cantonment had moved court challenging the centre's 8th of July notification appointing Tanwar as the NDMC Vice Chairman and seeking cancellation of his appointment. Commerce and Industry Minister Nirmala Sitharaman will discuss the e-commerce policy framework with state industry ministers today. The meeting will explore the possibility of allowing foreign direct investments in consumer e-commerce. At present, 100% FDI is allowed in business-to-business e-commerce and not in the retail segment. Global retail giants as well as domestic e-retailers want the government to relax the FDI norms in this space. And militants have shot dead a retired police officer in Kulgam district of South Kashmir. The retired superintendent of police was shot dead late last night near his residence in Ashumji at about 11:30 p.m. Some unknown militants fired upon retired SP Bashir Ahmed Dar. Now, Dar was referred to SKIMS hospital there but was declared dead on arrival. Now, lending support to Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar's bid to retain power, Aam Aadmi Party has decided not to field its candidates in the poll-bound state. Now, Kumar in turn has promised JDU support to its demand for full statehood for Delhi. Now, this came after Nitish Kumar's meeting with Kejriwal in a bid to seek a common platform against the BJP. Here is more. At a time when the AAP government in Delhi and the centre are locked in a turf war, Arvind Kejriwal got the support on issue of full statehood to Delhi from Bihar Chief Minister Nitish Kumar. The JDU leader assured Kejriwal that he will raise the issue in Parliament. Nitish met the Delhi Chief Minister at Delhi Secretariat on Tuesday. In return, AAP has decided not to field its candidates in the poll-bound state of Bihar.
जनता ने वोट दिया आम आदमी पार्टी को और केजरीवाल जी को। अभी अपनी सरकार गठित किए हैं। कौन किस विभाग का सेक्रेटरी होगा अधिकारी, वो अगर सरकार नहीं तय करेगी, कोई दूसरा तय करेगा, तो जनता के प्रति जवाबदेही तो सरकार की होती है। तो ये किस प्रकार का, तो हम लोग पूरे तौर पर इस मामले में साथ हैं और पूर्ण राज्य का दर्जा के लिए जो अभियान चल रहा है, देखिए जनता का कितना उस पर व्यापक समर्थन है। हम लोग पूरे तौर पर साथ।
The meeting comes in the backdrop of Bihar heading for assembly polls later this year. Apart from not fielding candidates, AAP will also provide backroom support to Kumar's team in devising canvassing strategy. It is also likely that Kejriwal will share the stage with Nitish and campaign for him. Interestingly, Kumar had thrown his weight behind Kejriwal during his Lok Sabha campaign against Prime Minister Narendra Modi in Varanasi and also lent support to the AAP in Delhi Assembly elections.
हाल फिलहाल के जो काउंसिल के चुनाव हुए हैं, जिसमें भारतीय जनता पार्टी उनके सहयोगी की बिहार में एक बड़ी जीत हुई है। बिहार में इनके पांव तले बिहार की धरती, राजनीतिक धरती खिसक चुकी है। स्वाभाविक है कि दूसरी जगह ये सहारा ढूंढ रहे हैं।
तो पॉलिटिकल क्षेत्र में कई पार्टी के नेता आपस में मिलते जुलते हैं, इसके कोई राजनीतिक निहितार्थ हम नहीं निकालते हैं बिहार के संदर्भ में।
The two chief ministers have met for the fourth time in about 2 months. JDU hopes that Kejriwal's tacit support will boost the alliance's chances after BJP's morale-boosting win in the recent Legislative Council elections in Bihar. The Bihar Assembly elections are due in October this year, and the alliance of the JDU-RJD Congress would be taking on the NDA. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV. And a look at what else is making news across the country. Indian Coast Guards concluded its search operations after recovering the wreckage of missing Dornier aircraft on Tuesday. Human remains of the crew members have also been recovered and will be sent to Tamil Nadu Forensic and Science Laboratory for a DNA test. Indian warships and planes had mounted a massive search operation for the Dornier after it went missing on 8th of July, several hours after taking off from Chennai airport for a routine surveillance. India has cleared the purchase of close to 30,000 crore rupees worth of new defence equipment on Tuesday, including 4 maritime spy planes from Boeing Company and hundreds of air defence guns. The largest order was approved for 428 L-70 and Zu-23 air defence guns worth around 16,900 crore rupees. Replacing the vintage guns was a major priority for the army. Aam Aadmi Party lawmaker Manoj Kumar, arrested in a case of alleged cheating and land grabbing, was sent to judicial custody till 25th of July by a Delhi court. The AAP leader was arrested on 9th of July for allegedly selling a plot which was not registered in his name. The court has fixed the hearing on his bail application on 16th of July. Bihar police nabbed 3 Maoist rebels who were wanted in several cases. The police said that the Maoists were captured during the police operation. The police also said that they had initiated a program to rehabilitate the rebels who willingly surrendered before the police by providing them with employment and also monetary relief. It is a big IPL clean-up. Raj Kundra, the co-owner of Rajasthan Royals, and Gurunath Mayappan, a director for the Chennai Super Kings, have earned life bans for their betting activities during IPL Season 6. The two teams are also out of the cash-rich league for 2 years. Now, a Supreme Court-appointed committee meted out this punishment for the betting scandal that rocked the IPL 2 years ago. Now, Chennai Super Kings is planning to move the Supreme Court against the order.
Gurunath Mayappan banned for life. Raj Kundra banned for life. These key IPL team officials have been banned for life from involvement in any cricket matches organised by the BCCI. The teams run by these two men, Chennai Super Kings and Rajasthan Royals, are also out of the cash-rich Indian Premier League for 2 years. The officials have been punished for their betting activities during the 2013 season of IPL.
The punishment is exemplary and it's strong, and it sends a very strong message to people who indulge in unwholesome and corrupt practices. According to me, this will go a long way in making cricket a cleaner game.
The committee proposes to impose sanction on India Cements franchisee under Section 6, Rule 4.2c of the operational rules by suspending it from the league for a period of 2 years.
The punishment has been handed down by the Supreme Court-appointed 3-member committee headed by former Chief Justice of India, R.M. Lodha. The bench held that the betting activities of Mayappan and Kundra have brought the game of cricket, BCCI and IPL into disrepute.
महान खेल क्रिकेट को अपने गलत आचरण से जिन लोगों ने कलंकित किया था, आज सुप्रीम कोर्ट के द्वारा बनाई गई समिति के फैसले ने ये साबित कर दिया कि खेल बड़ा होता है, कानून बड़ा होता है.
BCCI, which is managing the game of cricket in the country, has to give an important place to the disciplinary role. This role is being discharged by this committee in the present matter as mandated by the Honorable Supreme Court, so that purity of game remains a central element. We feel that our decision must reflect a kind of institutionally firm view for upholding the paramountcy of the game.
After the Supreme Court verdict, the BCCI top brass got into a huddle to discuss it. The IPL Governing Council members are also expected to meet soon to discuss the implications and the road ahead after the verdict. The board is also mulling whether new companies would be allowed to bid for the 2 vacant slots, although the CSK and RR players are now free to join other teams. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Well, in breakfast news, we'll take a very short break, but coming up ahead, we'll get to all the international news, including the Greek Parliament will vote today on the bailout deal reached between its government and the EU leaders. Details to follow. Stay with us.
as science beckons India into the future. Rajya Sabha television partakes the responsibility, bringing technology to the Indian people.
Let's take a look at various important science events in the country,
Monitoring scientific advances as they unravel.
Intergovernmental panel on climate change has proposed a complete ban on fossil fuels.
Welcome to Eureka.
Interviewing the country's greatest minds. Project the power of science to benefit and transform India. Rajya Sabha television, democracy at work.
Welcome back after the break. Now, Greek Prime Minister Alexis Tsipras faces the uphill task of getting the deal that he struck with the EU leaders through Parliament today at a time when the members of its own coalition are opposed to it. Well, the deadline for clearing the deal ends today.
The Greek Parliament will vote today on the deal that the country's Prime Minister reached with Eurozone partners on Monday. The deal has meant that Greece has to implement a swath of painful economic measures on its people. Prime Minister Tsipras faces strong discontent within his Syriza party over the deal. After all, it was he who sought a referendum on the bailout. Syriza party lawmakers met to decide on which way they will vote today. Tsipras says he is fully owning responsibility for a deal he does not believe in, but he also says he had no option but to sign it.
Ότι αναλαμβάνω πλήρες τις ευθύνες μου και για λάθη και παραλήψεις και για την ευθύνη της υπογραφής σε ένα κείμενο που δεν πιστεύω. Και είμαι υποχρεωμένος όμως να υλοποιήσω. Και δεν θα δραπετεύσω από τις ευθύνες μου. Δεν θα δραπετεύσω από τις ευθύνες μου διότι αυτό που προέχει τούτη την ώρα είναι να διασφαλίσω τουλάχιστον ότι η χώρα και τα λαϊκά στρώματα δεν θα διακινδυνεύσουν μια τεράστια καταστροφή, οικονομική καταστροφή. Ότι δεν θα καταρρεύσει το τραπεζικό σύστημα και δεν θα χαθούν οι καταθέσεις των πολιτών.
Κύριε Πρόεδρε, καλησπέρα.
Υπήρξε μια εκδικητική στάση από την πλευρά των εταίρων μας στην απόφαση να οδηγήσουμε στην ετυμηγορία του ελληνικού λαού.
Assuming Athens fulfills its end of the bargain this week by enacting a swath of painful measures, the German parliament is due to meet in a special session on Friday to debate whether to authorize the government to open new loan negotiations. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
All right, let's get a perspective on the story. Tridivesh Singh Mehni, who is a senior research associate at Jindal School of International Studies, is now joining us on the phone line. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning.
My pleasure, my pleasure. Thanks.
Sir, now Prime Minister Tsipras faces an uphill task really to push the deal through Parliament because not only the opposition parties but also 30 hardliners from his own party are threatening to oppose the latest reforms that are demanded by international creditors. So how easy or how difficult do you think this is going to be for Prime Minister Tsipras?
I think in the end, he will be able to, he will be able to get the numbers. But yes, I think it is an uphill ideological battle because only barely 2 weeks back, there was a referendum, as you know. And, these very reforms are suggested and they were rejected by the public over there. So it's not just the opposition is going to face within his own party, but also I think selling it generally to the public is going to be an uphill task because there are some very tough measures. And as you know, Greece has gone down this path over the past few decades because of extreme fiscal profligacy. And to persuade, members of his own party and generally sell these reforms is going to be an uphill task. But I think over the past few days, he has repeated, on repeated occasions, he said that there is no other option left for Greece but to undertake these severe measures. And I think politically he will prevail. But yes, I think it's going to be an uphill battle as far as selling it is concerned, and also explaining the fact that he has done such a U-turn within a few days. What are the reasons which compelled him to do so?
And what is also very obviously what is making matters worse for Tsipras is that the International Monetary Fund itself has actually attacked the bailout deal which is offered by the Eurozone leaders to the Greece. Yeah,
they have said that this is not sufficient, that this is not, I think as far as the numbers are concerned, I think that it's not enough to bail out Greece from the kind of mess it is in. This is going to be, I think, another challenge because I think apparently 10% of the loans have been which Greece has are from the International Monetary Fund. So naturally, it's one of the amongst the lenders. It plays an important role. So I think how will between the European Union and IMF, how are they going to resolve this issue, and whether they will be able to come up with any agreement and jointly bail out Greece. So this is in that context, this is important.
Right. Uphill task really for Prime Minister Tsipras there. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us this morning.
My pleasure. Thanks.
And the Iran nuclear deal is being hailed as historic by its people. But in the US, the reactions have been mixed. Now, Obama's foes are calling it a bad deal, while his friends say that the devil is in the detail.
Jubilation on the streets of Iran after the nuclear deal was finalized. The IAEA also welcoming the outcome of the extended deliberations.
یه خورده خستگیمون احساس میکنم در اومد. مرسی از آقای دکتر روحانی، مرسی از آقای دکتر ظریف.
خیلی خوشحالم از این توافق بزرگی که دکتر ظریف برای ما برنامه آوردن.
The IAEA and Iran have agreed a roadmap that sets out a timetable for clarifying past and present outstanding issues by the end of this year.
Iran reaching out to its neighbors after the deal was struck, saying it is not in a proliferation race.
ایران دنبال سلاح کشتار جمعی نبوده و نخواهد بود. ایران دنبال فشار بر کشورهای منطقه نبوده و نخواهد بود.
But in the US, a mixed reaction to what many have termed is a historic deal.
This is a huge breakthrough. Obviously, the devil is in the details. All of us are going to study those details, but this is clearly a major step forward.
I will terminate that deal. I will put in place crippling economic sanctions on Iran, and I will convince our allies to do the same.
India, that has been closely watching developments, says it welcomes the outcome.
India has always maintained that the issue should be resolved peacefully through dialogue by respecting Iran's right to peaceful uses of nuclear energy, while upholding the international community's strong interest in the exclusively peaceful nature of Iran's nuclear program.
The agreement limits Iranian nuclear activity in return for the uplifting of crippling international economic sanctions. The US Congress has 60 days in which to consider the deal, though President Barack Obama has said he will veto any attempt to block it. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And Gulf-backed Yemeni forces have recaptured Aden's International Airport from Houthi militia fighters. Heavy combat took place across the port city following the collapse of a UN-declared humanitarian truce. Now, forces loyal to exiled President Mansour Hadi also took Aden's central district of Hor Maskar, and aid sources reported fighting around the port area. Now, backed by air support from a Saudi-led coalition, the loyalist forces launched a wide-ranging assault in Aden this week to reclaim territory held by the Iranian-held Houthis. The coalition of Arab states has been bombarding Houthi forces, Yemen's dominant power, since late March in a bid to reinstate Hadi.
قرية راس عمران بمدرعة وحيدة والشباب المشاة انتشروا ودمروا ثلاث عربات باربيقي واستولينا على عربة همر والنص قريب والثبات بإذن الله.
And more news from across the globe in World Wrap. The Westgate shopping mall in Nairobi, which was the target of a terror attack nearly 2 years ago, is due to reopen on Saturday. The huge supermarket was completely destroyed in 2013 after Somalia's Al-Shabaab militants laid siege and killed at least 67 people inside. The siege had lasted 4 days until all 8 militants were killed by the security forces. Now, Kenyan authorities say that the country's spirit has prevailed and it has assured shoppers of safety. Wall Street gained for a 4th straight session on Tuesday, its longest winning streak since January, buoyed by the energy sector as oil prices rebounded from early declines. Oil prices were initially low on concerns a deal between Iran and 6 global powers would result in more supply, but turned higher after it became apparent that sanctions on Tehran's crude exports would not be removed immediately. China on Tuesday called on the Philippines to drop its arbitration case in relation to the disputed areas in the South China Sea. The Philippines had asked the United Nations Arbitral Tribunal to clarify China's maritime entitlements over the South China Sea. However, China maintained that it won't accept the unilateral attempts to turn to a third party to solve the disputes. The Permanent Court of Arbitration has concluded its hearing on the jurisdiction and admissibility of the Philippines case against China last Monday, and the court is set to decide on the jurisdiction over the maritime dispute within a year. And the first Pluto mission is being hailed as a success. The first images from the spacecraft were transmitted yesterday and they were released today. It will be 16 months before all of us, however, that we could see the New Horizons captured will actually be transmitted to Earth.
More than 9 years after its launch, a US spacecraft sailed past Pluto on Tuesday, capping a 3 billion-mile journey to the solar system's farthest reaches. The craft flew by the distant dwarf planet after reaching a region beyond Neptune called the Kuiper Belt that was discovered in 1992. The achievement is a culmination of a 50-year effort to explore the solar system.
Pluto is an incredible new world, and we're the first ever to see it as the Pluto New Horizons spacecraft zipped by Pluto, and the best is yet to come.
Scientists have many questions about Pluto, which, when New Horizons launched in 2006, was still considered the solar system's 9th planet. It was demoted to the status of dwarf planet after the discovery of other Pluto-like ice and rock worlds orbiting beyond Neptune in the Kuiper Belt.
Well, what we're trying to learn about is, what makes Pluto tick, if you will? How was it formed? Is it still alive? Is it a frozen world? Or does it still have something going on inside under the surface?
It will take about 16 months for New Horizons to transmit back all the images and measurements taken during Tuesday's flyby. By then, the spacecraft will be even deeper into the Kuiper Belt, heading for a possible follow-on visit to one of Pluto's cousins.
It will take about 16 months because Pluto New Horizons spacecraft is so distant. 16 months to send all of that data back to Earth.
The spacecraft is so far from Earth that radio signals traveling at the speed of light take about 4.5 hours to reach Earth. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
And now a look at some sporting action from around the world in Sports Buzz. Australian Cricket Board has banned all-rounder James Faulkner after being charged with drunk driving. He will miss Australia's tour of England and Ireland. The 25-year-old, who is playing for Lancashire, was arrested and bailed on 2nd of July and will appear in court in Manchester later this month. Cricket Australia said that he will not be considered for the touring squad that will be announced next month. The Russian Football Union ended its contract with national team coach Fabio Capello 3 years before the country hosts the 2018 World Cup finals. The RFU did not immediately name a successor for the 69-year-old Italian. Capello, who managed England at the 2010 World Cup, took over as Russia's coach in July 2012. CSKA Moscow coach Leonid Slutsky is likely to take over. AC Milan beat Legnano 5-1 in their second friendly of the off-season. It was Legnano who opened the scoring after 9 minutes, but Milan came back strong to score 5 goals, a third friendly against League One team Lyon in France. Well, it's time to wrap up the bulletin, but before we go, we'll leave you with these breathtaking visuals of a spectacular fireworks at the Eiffel Tower in Paris for Bastille Day. Take a look. Have a great day ahead.